A young black teenager walked into the courtroom that morning with his head held high, though the weight of injustice sat heavy on his shoulders. He wasn't just fighting for himself, he was standing up against a system that had already decided who he was before he even spoke. The judge, sitting high on the bench, smirked the moment he saw him. To the judge, this young man was just another statistic, another case to move along quickly. With a laugh that echoed through the courtroom, the judge dismissed the boys, words before he even began, believing that a teenager from his background could never possibly defend himself against the law. The courtroom erupted with whispers, some in pity, others in doubt. But the teen remained calm, his eyes steady, his voice unshaken. As the trial unfolded, the teenager revealed a truth no one expected. He had studied the case inside and out, spending countless nights preparing evidence, reviewing details, and understanding the law better than anyone imagined. Piece by piece, he dismantled the accusations against him, exposing lies, contradictions, and even negligence from those who were supposed to uphold justice. The same judge who laughed at him now leaned forward, his face turning serious, as the young man presented fact after fact with confidence that silenced the room. The crowd watched in awe as the teenager's brilliance unfolded before them. Yet the Yud, smirk on the judge's face, had vanished, replaced by shock. By the end of the trial, it was undeniable. The young man had not only proven his innocence, but also revealed the dangerous flaws in the system that targeted him in the first place. His courage and intelligence turned humiliation into triumph, and his story spread far beyond the walls of that courtroom. He became a symbol of strength, showing that no matter how much society underestimates you, resilience, preparation, and determination can change everything. The same laughter meant to break him became the fuel that proved him unstoppable. This is more than just one teenager's victory. It's a reminder of what it means to rise above the struggles placed in your path. On this channel, Struggles to Strength, we share stories that inspire, stories of resilience, and stories that remind us never to give up, no matter the odds. If you found this story powerful, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who need to hear it. Together, we can turn every struggle into strength. A young black teenager walked into the courtroom that morning with his head held high, even though everyone around him believed the odds were stacked against him. The judge, sitting above in his robe, barely tried to hide his smirk. He chuckled under his breath, convinced that this boy didn't stand a chance. The courtroom filled with whispers and doubtful stares, but the teenager remained calm. He wasn't just here to defend himself, he was here to prove that no one should be underestimated because of the color of their skin or the assumptions of society. As the trial began, the judge mocked him, asking sarcastic questions and laughing at his responses. But the teenager had done his homework. He spoke with confidence, presenting evidence that the prosecution had overlooked. He exposed contradictions in their witnesses, pointing out details so sharp and precise that even the lawyers were left speechless. The smirk on the judge's face slowly faded as the young man's brilliance began to shine. Each fact he laid out turned the courtroom's laughter into silence, every word cutting through prejudice and doubt. By the end, the judge who once laughed at him was leaning forward in shock, forced to acknowledge the truth that had unfolded. The teenager not only cleared his own name, but he revealed the failures of a system that was quick to label him guilty before hearing his voice. His victory was more than personal. It was a statement of resilience, courage, and intelligence that refused to be ignored. What started as ridicule ended in respect, and what was meant to break him only made him stronger. This story is a powerful reminder that no matter how much the world doubts you, strength lies in preparation, perseverance, and self-belief. On Struggles to Strength, we share stories like this to inspire and uplift, to show that every obstacle can be turned into an opportunity for growth. If this story moved you, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who need to hear it. Together, we transform struggles into strength. The courtroom was cold and silent, filled with the sound of shuffling papers and the echo of footsteps on the hard floor. A young black teenager entered, his heart racing, but his expression calm. He had been judged long before this trial even began, judged by his skin, his age, and the assumptions of a society that never expected him to rise above. Sitting high on the bench, the judge glanced at him, then laughed quietly, a laugh dripping with arrogance. It was the kind of laugh that said, "You don't belong here, and you don't stand a chance." The crowd joined in with whispers, some mocking, others pitying, while the boy stood tall, determined not to let the weight of their doubt crush him. The trial began. The prosecutor painted him as careless, reckless, guilty, without a doubt. Witnesses stepped forward, pointing fingers, their voices sharp with accusation. The judge nodded along, smiling as though the outcome had already been written. And then came the teenager's turn. With a deep breath, he rose from his seat, holding a folder of notes he had prepared with sleepless nights of study. The judge leaned back, almost amused, as though watching a child try to play a game meant for grown men. "Son," the judge chuckled, "are you sure you want to continue? This isn't a school debate." Laughter rippled through the room, but the boy didn't flinch. Instead, he opened his folder and began. One by one, he pulled apart the accusations. "You said I was at the scene at 9 p.m., he began, his voice steady. "But this photo shows I was miles away at that time." He held up evidence that no one expected him to have. The prosecutor frowned, flipping through their papers in confusion. The boy continued, pointing out contradictions in the witnesses' statements. "You testified that the car was blue," he said firmly, "but the official police report lists it as black. Which one is it?" The witness stammered, unable to answer. The courtroom grew quiet. Each fact was like a blade cutting. Through the lies, the teenager spoke with such precision that even the defense attorneys exchanged surprised looks. The smirk on the judge's face disappeared. His laughter turned into silence. Minutes stretched into hours. The teenager's voice carried with clarity and truth, exposing flaw after flaw in the case against him. The judge leaned forward now, no longer amused but stunned, forced to listen to the very boy he once mocked. At last, the evidence stood undeniable. The accusations crumbled, the witnesses exposed, the case shattered. The boy had not only defended himself, he had outsmarted the courtroom itself. The same crowd that whispered against him now sat in silence, some even nodding in respect. What was meant to be his downfall had become his triumph. The judge, once full of arrogance, now looked at the boy with something he never expected to feel: respect. He cleared his throat, his voice no longer filled with laughter, but with humility. "This court," he said slowly, "finds you not guilty." Gasps filled the room, followed by applause that echoed against the walls. The young man closed his folder, his hands steady, his head still held high. He had proven that intelligence, preparation, and courage can turn the tables against even the harshest doubt. This wasn't just a victory for one teenager. It was a statement for every young person who has ever been underestimated. Every black child who has been told they are less. Every voice that has been silenced before it had a chance to speak. His story became a symbol of resilience, showing that laughter and doubt from others can become the very fuel that pushes you toward greatness. And this, right here, is what Struggles to Strength is all about. Stories that remind us that no matter the obstacles, no matter the prejudice, no matter the weight of the world against you, strength comes from within. If this story touched you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who need a reminder that every struggle can be turned into strength. Together, we rise. The young man sat back down slowly, his chest rising and falling as the judge's final words echoed through the courtroom. Not guilty. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. He looked around the room at the faces that once doubted him. Faces that now stared in silence, some in disbelief, some in quiet admiration. The same people who whispered that he had no chance were now witnesses to his strength. He wasn't just a teenager anymore. He was a symbol, a reminder that brilliance and courage can come from the most unexpected places. But the truth is, his journey didn't start in that courtroom. It began long before, with nights of self-doubt, long hours of studying, and the heavy burden of being told over and over that he wouldn't succeed. Imagine being just a teenager and carrying the weight of a system designed to see you fail. Most people would have broken under the pressure, but he chose a different path. He chose to fight, not with anger or violence, but with knowledge, patience, and undeniable truth. That choice is what changed everything. The judge's laughter had once filled the courtroom like thunder, but in the end, it was the teenager's calm voice, his steady determination, that silenced it. And isn't that the real power of resilience? It's not about shouting louder than the ones who doubt you. It's about standing tall, staying focused, and proving them wrong through your actions. This young man didn't just win a trial. He won back his dignity. He showed everyone in that room and everyone who would later hear his story that respect is not given freely. It is earned through perseverance. And as the boy walked out of the courthouse, the sunlight hitting his face, he knew something had shifted. He was no longer just someone's case number. He was no longer defined by assumptions or stereotypes. He had turned the laughter meant to break him into the applause of victory. His story spread, inspiring not only his community, but countless others who felt overlooked, underestimated, and silenced. What happened that day wasn't just about justice. It was about transformation. A struggle had become strength, and that's why we share these stories here on Struggles to Strength. Because every one of us, no matter where we come from, carries battles that others may never see. Some will laugh at us, some will doubt us, some will even hope for our failure. But when we choose resilience, when we prepare, when we refuse to let their judgment define us, that is when we rise. If this story inspired you, I ask you to join this journey. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear that their voice matters, that their strength is real, and that their struggles can become the very reason they succeed. Together, we rise above doubt. Together, we turn struggles into strength. Outside the courthouse, the air felt different. The crowd that had gathered began to disperse, but their conversations carried the weight of what they had just witnessed. Reporters whispered, some scribbling notes, others shaking their heads in disbelief. A young boy, someone they expected to crumble, had outsmarted the entire system. People would talk about it for days, maybe even weeks. But for the teenager, it wasn't about fame or recognition. It was about proving to himself and to the world that he was more than the labels placed on him. He walked down the courthouse steps slowly, every step echoing like a statement. I will not be broken. And as he reached the bottom, he thought about every late night he spent studying, every moment of doubt he pushed through, and every cruel word that had been thrown his way. He thought about the laughter, the judge's laughter, that once felt like thunder crashing over him. Now, that same laugh was nothing but an empty memory. Because when you turn your pain into power, when you turn your struggle into strength, no one's laughter can define you anymore. But let's pause here for a moment. Imagine being in his shoes. Imagine being told that your voice doesn't matter. Imagine standing in a room where everyone expects you to fail, where every eye watches for the moment you break. Most people would give up. Most people would bow their heads and accept the judgment. But he didn't. He stood tall, and that choice, that single choice to fight back with knowledge and courage, is what changed the ending of his story. And maybe, just maybe, it's the same choice you and I have to make when life puts us on trial. This story isn't just about one courtroom, one teenager, or one victory. It's about all of us. Because at some point, life will laugh at us. People will doubt us. Circumstances will try to crush us. And in those moments, we'll have two options: to surrender or to rise. The boy's story reminds us that rising isn't about never falling. It's about standing up, even when no one believes you can. It's about preparing in silence, working when no one is watching, and then surprising everyone who thought you weren't capable. So the next time life laughs at you, remember this courtroom. Remember the boy who turned ridicule into respect. Remember that every struggle you face has the power to make you stronger, wiser, and more unstoppable than you ever imagined. That's the true lesson of this story. That laughter meant to break. You can become the applause that lifts you higher. And this is what we stand for here on Struggles to Strength. Real stories, real battles, real victories. Stories that prove no matter who you are or where you come from, you can rise above. So if this message touched you, don't just walk away. Be part of this journey. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who needs hope today. Together, we will continue to tell stories that inspire, stories that heal, and stories that remind us all. Every struggle can be turned into strength.